We want J-Lo out. We want J-Lo out. We want J-Lo out. We want J-Lo out. West Ham United, worst ever start to a Premier League campaign off of the back of last season's best ever start to a Premier League campaign, a record which actually stretched all the way to the halfway mark of the season. Another defensive disaster for West Ham United at home to Chelsea. No defensive plan, even less of an attacking plan, it would appear. All in all, pretty grim watching at London Stadium as West Ham were thumped by London rivals Chelsea, who, it's worth remembering, needed the biggest of fluky flukes to get a win at Bournemouth, where they were completely outplayed the week before. It is not looking good for West Ham United, particularly for a few of the new signings. But one thing I will say is that this week's podcast is going to be a flipping entertaining one for you, because despite almost everyone with two eyes in their head who has seen either the full game or just some highlights of West Ham versus Chelsea from the weekend, have said how abject West Ham were and how they were absolutely awful. But we, right here on the We Are West Ham podcast, have got the only man in the world who described that after the game as a good performance. James Jones, lovely to see you again as always. I saw you in person at the game on Saturday, and I've only just stopped laughing from you saying, oh, it wasn't a bad performance, even though it was absolutely vile.
Well, first of all, I'm going to correct you straight off the bat. It isn't our worst ever start to a Premier League season. It's our worst home start to a Premier League season, but not an overall start. And anyway, what does a losing 3 home matches in a row really matter? We should be used to this.
That's a bit.
We should be used to this, especially when you consider that those 3 defeats have come against Champions League Aston Villa, the best team on the planet in Manchester City, and a team that's just spent £1.5 billion on players over the last 3 years in Chelsea. So
yeah, but they are pence, aren't they?
I mean, let's put it right. It's not as if we've just lost to Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich in a row, is it? So,
that's true.
But yeah, I'm okay. Slightly baffled at the whole discourse around Lopetegui and a defeat to Chelsea. If I'm honest,
it's not just that; it's the performance, wasn't it? And all the other performances before it. What's baffling about it? Surely, you can see why.
You messaged me at half time and said Lopetegui out. Just immature. and then I go on Twitter after, and you just got people going, "Oh, I should have kept Moyes. Oh, it's just so terrible." Like, he's managed 5 Premier League games, for crying out loud. I mean, if you sack him now, who do you replace him with? Don't say David Moyes. Get out of his butt. Get out of his backside for a little bit, right? Don't say David Moyes. If we were to sack him now, first of all, that would be a disgrace, right? But secondly, like, who do you genuinely believe would replace him?
Well, you said I'm not allowed to say David Moyes.
Well, clearly not. I mean, it's just it's.
I must admit, Moyes 3.0 would be something else.
It'd be like it just makes the club even more of a laughing stock. But I honestly, having looked back at the highlights, looked at the stats, and given that I was sober for this one, I am able to recall a lot of the game for the first time in probably my entire adult life.
And yet you still said it was a good performance after the game. That's what's baffling.
I said it wasn't a bad performance. And the reason why I said
don't start micro tweaking it now, just because you're not in the pub with me anymore.
I did acknowledge that there were issues. I did acknowledge that. But the reason why I said that was the fact that we lost to 3 counter-attack goals, right? Three counter-attack goals. Yes, they cut us open quite a few times with their ball through the middle.
With a straight pass through the middle.
we had more shots than them. We had more corners than them. So to say that you opened up, your intro was going on about how that we had nothing to offer from an attacking sense. We had more shots. We had more shots than Chelsea. We had more shots on target than them. We had more corners than them. We had more possession than them. We had more. What was it? More touches, more passes, more like we had more of the ball than Chelsea. Okay, I said to you in the pub afterwards that that actually Chelsea just did to us what we did quite a lot to a lot of teams over the last 4 years, and won. Yes, and won. But the fact that we've enjoyed more of the ball against the Chelsea side that's made up of right shows that we're trying to play the right rate. Yes, okay, it's not perfect. Yes, okay, they've cut us open. But also, what I find also baffling is that no one's actually gone. Actually, no. Do you know what? Chelsea played quite well because they did. Their shape completely stifled us in attack. Yes, we should have had more answers, but they also played pretty well, and their quality shone through in the end. We lost to the better team on the day, and a lot of teams are going to lose to Chelsea this season. And for some reason, we lose to Chelsea, and everyone's lost their minds, and everyone's calling for the manager to be sacked after 5 games, and it's suddenly the worst thing in the world. I mean, it's just all a little bit pathetic, really, isn't it?
I honestly, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
What I'm trying to say is
the rest of your little Moyes outers with your pathetic little percentage possession agenda.
No, listen.
Honestly,
listen. What I'm trying to say is that I acknowledge that there are issues defensively and in midfield.
It's worse than that, mate.
I acknowledge that. Okay, we should have been and could have been a lot more clinical at the weekend. We should have had a penalty. We'll get onto that. Scored a goal that was offside, but I mean, we had the ball in the back of the net, but apparently we weren't very good going forward. So
it was miles offside.
But we had a penalty, but apparently we weren't
like
very good.
Being onside is part of attacking.
Yeah, but we managed to get into their box a lot.
Yeah, by being 10 yards beyond their defence. That doesn't really count.
What I'm saying is that yes, I acknowledge that it's not perfect and there are issues that need to be ironed out. But there are so many reasons why it's way too early to even be remotely upset about the fact that Lopetegui's in charge and David Moyes isn't. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. You can't if anyone was expecting to change manager, change style of play, and have £150 million invested into the starting 11 or the first team, and then expect
basically what everyone wanted. That's what all the Moyes out.
If everyone expected that to happen, wanted all that to happen, and expected it to click straight away, deluded, absolutely deluded. It's not real. It's not realistic to just expect it just to click straight away. And then when it doesn't work after 5 games, you can't throw your toys out the pram. We've been time to play with the bloody toys.
But there's nice. There's a scale, right? There's a scale. It's not just black or white. It's working or it's not. There's lots of space, grey area in the middle of those two areas. And the thing is, right, and I'll read out a couple of messages in a minute. Sorry I missed these. They went into like our sort of general inbox or whatever that I didn't see. But the problem is that there is no discernible pattern of play when we have possession of the football. There are no attacking patterns other than quick see if Kudus is marked or some weird like diagonal ball like thing, which I don't really get. That's the only thing I can see which we sort of seem to be trying on the regular. Like have Aaron Wan-Bissaka in an offensively attacking position, aka so he's completely out of play when we inevitably lose the ball and teams can just easily counter-attack down their left-hand side or our right, which leaves, like happened at the weekend, at Alvarez doing his best, bless him, to try and sprint back and cover the space where our actual right back should be when he's not cut out for that. Right, look, granted, Fulkrug, yeah, when he's fit, he starts, yeah, and I thought Somerville was our best player. Like Lucas Paqueta had one of them weird games again, and then Kudus, I don't know, like, I don't know, James. It just feels like, and I do accept that when like Fulkrug is the signing he made and he's supposed to be the number one, but it it shouldn't be a total disaster when he's not playing, and we should still be able to see with our eyes what the team are trying to do attacking wise, like when we have the ball, regardless of who's up front. I know they're slightly different types of players, but you get what I'm saying, don't you? We should still sort of be able to see what they're trying. And I would just can't. I'm serious. I don't dig you out about it. But like, and I've asked this to you last week, and I think another week has gone past where you can't tell me what's Lopetegui's style of attack.
Well, like, even all the players have come out and said that it wasn't, they should have been doing better. And I do agree. It's still quite difficult.
At what?
Well, I mean, it is still quite difficult to see clear patterns of play. But at the same time, whatever that was on Saturday wasn't as unbelievably disgraceful as everyone's made it out to be. If there was no patterns of play in attack, we don't have 17 shots on goal against Chelsea.
Right, stop it. You're doing I'm calling you out for fake news again, because not 17 shots on goal, is it? It's 17 shots.
Okay, well, no, it's shots on goal. You shoot on goal, don't you? And if you go on target, they're on target.
You always do this.
How do you not get this?
Proper fake news.
We need our listeners to write in. We need our listeners to write in.
Get you on Fox News.
How do you not understand that?
Nah, everyone knows it's shots and shots on target.
You don't shoot at the corner flag. You shoot on the goal.
Antonio does.
Right?
No, but shoots on goal does make it sound like on target.
It might do. It's obviously not what I meant.
Absolute deception.
We had 17 shots at the goal, and we had 17 shots on the target. Oh no, 12 shots on the target. 12 shots on target, which is more than Chelsea, funny enough. But we had no patterns of play going forward. But the reality is, mate, and before we move on, a lot of people are forgetting that Lopetegui's also taken over a side that was playing a hell of a lot worse and getting worse results at the back end of last season. So it's not just a complete overhaul of the starting 11 and a change of style of play. He's also had to get the players a little bit more confident again after ending the season terribly. Was it 2 wins since the turn of the new year in the Premier League? So it's also a team that he's inherited this incredibly out of form. That's another reason why you got to give him time. And all this Lopetegui out stuff, pining for Moyes, it's all just a little bit silly. I don't understand it. Like that. If we're still having these same conversations by November, then I'd understand. I'd be like, okay, things need to start changing.
It's only 5 weeks away.
After 5 games, people are already throwing their toys out of the pram. It's mental. It's embarrassing, to be quite honest.
Right. We'll have a little bit more, including some messages from you lot next. Don't forget to follow We Are West Ham on socials at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. You can email us at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. Like a few of you do, especially Jim Odie, week in, week out. Send us a DM, and do make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Just search We Are West Ham Podcast on YouTube, and that is where you'll find us. You can buy us a pint if you want, buymeacoffee.com/We Are West Ham. I think that is about it. Stay with us, because coming up on this week's show, we'll have a bit more of a detailed look back at that Chelsea game next. Me and James are going to carry on arguing. I can tell it's going to be one of them weeks. And then Jonesy done an opposition view ahead of the Liverpool away game in the Carabao Cup on Wednesday. James, who was that with? Henry Jackson?
Henry Jackson, yeah.
From?
He is from, I actually got it wrong. I had to start re-record. He's actually from This Is Anfield.
This is Anfield.
Someone else when I introed him earlier.
All right, Henry Jackson with This Is Anfield. That opposition view it's coming up tonight as well. And then later this week, we'll have a look back at the Liverpool game, and I am doing an opposition view ahead of the Brentford away game on Saturday with Mike from the Ealing Road podcast. Yeah, that's what's coming up on this show and the rest of the week. Damn you guys. All I can think of during this game is that our game plan is just give it to Kudus. That's from Mulligans_irons on Instagram. Regular listener to the podcast, regular messenger as well. He messaged us at We Are West Ham Pod on Insta. And Michael Donstov as well emailed us. Michael Dontsov. Forgive my pronunciation there. Got in touch on Insta in the DMs as well. The no plan goes on then, it appears, in response to my picture from the London Stadium on the weekend. His reply was, but I pray that the Holy Mosiah saves us from our sins and reopens the gates to heaven. Amen. Yeah, fully with you, Michael, and I can assure everyone that isn't our burner account. But yeah, get in touch if you fancy it. On We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. I'm also getting blamed, James Riley Casey, in the Instagram DMs, saying that I'm getting blamed for Nicholas Fulkrug getting injured. Because of my chat about how, what a legend he's going to be and how important it'll be to keep him as a sort of, keep him fit, basically. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, people finding it funny, I suppose. But what needs to happen then, from your point of view? Oh, positive Pete over there. Right, what needs to happen? Like, what do you want to see that's going to be acceptable? Because, let's be honest, it needs to be wins. But Brentford away on the weekend, Liverpool first, obviously. I mean, the Liverpool one's not ideal. Games like that always seem to come at times like this, don't they? 5,500 West Ham have sold out at Liverpool, which is great. But what needs to happen for you then?
Firstly, it's not so much me being positive, Pete. It's more about me being realistic.
I'll leave it out. You don't get to decide.
But yeah, I think obviously wins are the big thing. And, had we won on Saturday with the exact same performance, people would be absolutely raving. You'd be dancing.
Obviously.
Exactly.
Obviously
with the same performance, and everyone's slagging the performance off.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't win with a performance like that. That's what but I don't understand how you can say a good performance when you lose 3-0, when defending is part of a performance. I don't get it.
Anyway.
So that is a reasonable point.
But I think I'm not going to repeat what I keep saying every week, because you moan and you get even more smug about the fact that we're not winning under David Moyes or without him, shall I say. But I think with a little bit more time, we'll start seeing some of those patterns of play come in. The legend that is Andy Irving has already come out and said that he thinks that the ideas from Lopetegui and the coaches are very good, and it's just taking the players a little bit of time to get used to it. And I think also we need a run of fixtures, winnable fixtures, shall I say, in which we can put a little bit of a run of results together, get a little bit of confidence. People forget that we've already played Villa, Man City, Chelsea, and we're going to play Liverpool on Wednesday in the first 6 games, all of which we've lost, and all the other teams that aren't in the top 6 or in the Champions League, we haven't lost to. So yeah, I think there will be improvements. Not expecting anything on Wednesday night, but Saturday with some Brentford injuries, there may be a chance. Although I'll take a point there now, and then Ipswich at home the following weekend, which is probably our first winnable fixture this season, I would say.
What are you talking? What do you mean first winnable fixture?
Well, I mean, obviously, we got battered by Palace at Selhurst Park last season, 5-2. We also got battered at Craven Cottage by Fulham, 5-0. So you can't tell me you were going into those two fixtures, especially going, yes, we're going to win today because Fulham are rubbish, Palace are rubbish.
No, but they're winnable fixtures.
I don't know. They were winnable.
I thought I wasn't
last
allowed
year,
to compare to last season anyway.
Well, I mean, you're the one that's comparing everything to David Moyes. So, but anyway, I think Ipswich is the one I'm looking at. Going, maybe that's the start. Obviously, it is 2 weeks away, but hopefully we get something at Brentford. But I do believe that there will be a turnaround, and people will be looking back at this very bizarre period in time when everyone was calling for the manager to be sacked after 5 games, going, "Oh, we were a little bit premature there, weren't we?" So yeah.
Do you expect to finish above Crystal Palace, Fulham, and Brentford this season?
Probably not Fulham. I mean, probably Palace, yeah. And Brentford, you don't know, do you? I mean, I said right at the beginning of the season, it's a transition season. I'm not expecting us to compete for Europe. So
No,
we're going to
I'm
be
just
in and
asking
around
you
those
if you
teams, right? We're
finish
going to be
above those teams.
The likelihood is we're going to be in and around those teams in mid-table, I think.
Yeah, I'm just I mean, we
We're
finished
not.
above
We're
all
not going
three
to
of them.
be in and around Chelsea, City, or Villa, are we?
No. Well, no, I'm just asking because I mean we finished only 3 points above Palace last season. To be fair, they obviously lost some players. We finished 13 points above Brentford last season, and just 5 above Fulham. Yeah, I don't know. It's just if games against those teams aren't winnable, that's like you're talking dropping into that 3rd division of the Premier League, and I'm sort of gauging how low you'd be willing to go while sort of keeping faith with Lopetegui. But I still had maintained we'll come in 12th. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's more than reasonable for fans to want to see a bit more so far. Like there is a lot of
and
excitement.
I want to see a lot more as well. I think that's what's been lost in all of this. Is that those that are going way too early to be pressing the panic button are being confused with people that are very happy with everything that they've seen so far. I'm not. I haven't for 1 minute gone, well, this is absolutely perfect. We should have done this years ago. Got Lopetegui in. I haven't said that. What I'm saying is that there is absolutely no reason why, after the fixtures that we've played and the results that we've had, why people are going, this is a disgrace. We should never have changed managers. Lopetegui out. It's unbelievable. Like, genuinely unbelievable. That's where I'm at. I still want to see improvement. Of course I do. And if there's no improvement by, like I said, by end of October, beginning of November, then yeah, okay. Then I'll be going, I mean, it's not good. But at the same time, if we're nowhere near the relegation zone at that time and we're hovering around mid-table, I still maintain the fact that what's the point of getting rid of him? Like, I can't even believe we're even having this conversation about getting rid of him.
No, I don't think
Like,
there's. I don't.
There's a lot of people going, get him out. Get him out. He's got to go.
Do you think seriously? Like, as in, do you think now? Because obviously, I'm being a little bit facetious with it when I text you saying Lopetegui out. But do you think there's anyone who means it seriously at this stage, or do you think it's all a bit tongue in cheek?
I mean, football fans are incredibly fickle, and I would bet that the majority of people are being very serious when they. I mean, unless you put in brackets only joking, then you're being serious, mate. If I'm honest. So yeah, I don't really get it, mate. And I've also seen people going, "Oh, well, what was he doing on the international break? He had 2 weeks there to figure it out. What with the bench and half the fringe players, while all his best players are away playing for their countries. I mean, come on, why are you unable to see that as well? It breaks my heart.
All right, then. Right, so happy with a point. You'd be happy with a point at Brentford, who came 16th last season. Ipswich at home,
somewhere where we haven't won yet, by the way.
Oh no, you are. Yeah. They're our new Brighton, aren't they? Yeah. I'm regretting agreeing to go to that. Right, then Ipswich at home afterwards. I assume you want to see us win there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So that's 4 points. Tottenham away.
Lose that.
Bit of a coin toss, but you take it as a loss. Man United at home.
I think we could beat them and beat United at home.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, like a
Point.
point's going to be a good result there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you on now? 5 points from the next 4. Nottingham Forest away. You hate
Win.
a win at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. 5. So that's 5. I guess takes us to 8 points. Everton at home.
Win.
Right. So 11 points. Right. That takes us up to the Everton game. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 11 points from our next 6 games before we go to Newcastle and then host Arsenal. That takes us to the end of November. Realistically, those two, like Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, probably going to lose both.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
Be lucky to get a point, right? So that's 11 points up to the end of November.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. No,
Do you agree with what I've just said about it's probably going to be 11 points between now and November?
No. Oh, no, I really don't. No.
You think it's going to be less than that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
Right. Okay. How many points did you think we would have at this stage after 5 games? Bearing in mind who we've played.
Yeah, I remember saying. I do the 10 points after 10 games is a really realistic option.
Okay.
So what how many games have we played now? 5.
We've got 5 and we've got 4 points. So in the next 5 games, we've got to pick up 2 more wins to meet your expectations.
Yeah, sorry. By the way, I wasn't excited by that expectation. That was what I expected to happen, but I wasn't pleased with that. That wasn't like this will be good. That's like, God, this is what I think will happen.
Okay, but what did you think would be a good return after these 5 games?
After the first 5, what would I have said there? Right, probably point at Villa. I actually thought after Palace, you'd rather win one of those and lose one. So I think we were good going. I'd probably said draw then, lost then, maybe a win at Fulham 5, and probably point at Chelsea, maybe a defeat. So yeah, 5 points, 6 if I'm being.
We're only 1 or 2 points worse off.
Yeah. Yeah, and but to be fair, and we have been saying this for a while, haven't we? Right, our season will be defined by what we do against Brentford, Ipswich, and Nottingham Forest and Everton in the next out of those next games up to the end of November. I think the Fulham thing's sticking with me a bit because we were so bad there, and although that is an extra point on top, we did not deserve that at all. Yeah. And you needed Danny Ings to come on the bench. That's not going to happen every week, is it? That's not sustainable to perform like that every week. But right, listen, James, let's take another quick break and then we'll talk a little bit more in detail next about the actual Chelsea game and the pros and cons of that one. Right, let's talk about the actual game then, James. Obviously, there is a bigger picture at play here, and it's how things are going generally, which I don't think is, like particularly well. I kind of let's talk about players first. Rodriguez, and I think this is the problem half the time. A lot of the time, I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek, just to sort of wind you up and make people laugh who listen to the podcast or smile or whatever. And obviously, I like ham up a couple of things on purpose just for a little bit of entertainment factor. But I wasn't joking about Rodriguez, and I was delighted to see him hauled off at the weekend. What do you make of him?
I don't see him starting in the foreseeable.
Soler instead, or back to faith with Souček?
I would like to see him go with Soler. I thought he looked okay when he came off the bench. I didn't see him at Fulham, so I can't really comment on that. But it's the first time I saw him against Chelsea, and I thought he was all right. I just think it gives us a little bit more shape in midfield, because having a slow Rodriguez and then Edson Alvarez trying to cover for him, 2 very defensive midfielders, like it's just not sustainable.
He's not bringing the best out of Alvarez, is he? Like he's a mustard player, isn't he? But not when he's being made to do that.
And you have Alvarez just playing a little bit deeper than Soler, and Soler sort of with a little bit of a license to go forward.
Like the link player,
whereas we don't have that when you play Rodriguez and Alvarez.
Yeah.
And then I've seen a couple of clips of some of the passes that Chelsea were making through that midfield, and it was Rodriguez every time. So slow to react, and then slow to get back. He's in possession, he's okay. He's a tidy player, but out of possession, he's not up to the speed.
Nowhere near the level, no.
Yet for the Premier League, he might improve. He might get used to it. I don't know.
By all
But
means.
at the moment, he is a La Liga player, isn't he? He's
you've got to let him adapt away from. I know people will say, "Oh, he'll only learn by the league," but like his fitness levels don't look anywhere near it, do they? Like,
I actually don't think it's fitness. I think it's just him just not being used to the speed at which the Premier League is played at.
Yeah, maybe.
Like the La Liga is notoriously a far slower pace of football, in line with the Spanish lifestyle. Really, very manana. And I think he's just struggled to really adapt and get to grips with it. He may eventually come good. But yeah, you need someone who out of position is just a little bit quicker in getting back and reading the game a little bit better.
I feel like a bit of a broken record. Wan-Bissaka, again, I feel like he's maybe being a little bit of a victim of what he's being told to do, because it is unfathomable for me that any right back worth their salt would be leaving the right back position so continually exposed. I know fullbacks are in vogue a little bit now, but like it's mental. He's not inverting, is he? He's just like going miles, pushing right up as far as he can. But then it's ridiculous. It's just so easy for the opposition teams. I mean, Jackson's goal was just ridiculous, wasn't it? The first one. And like you got Alvarez trying to get, but it must be an attacking ploy, mustn't it? But the risk reward ratio now is so heavily stacked against that. It's just always miles up the pitch and then like nowhere near it when the other team inevitably turn possession over and just go, I'll tell you what, we'll pass it out to the left because there's a huge gap there. And then the closest player to getting over is Alvarez. And all you have to do is have someone who's got a 6 out of 10 pace and he's going to skin him. It's just, honestly, it's so obvious and much.
I think it is a sign of what Lopetegui wants to do. It's another thing that hasn't worked. What it is, I don't quite know. The fact Wan-Bissaka must have been told to be in those positions,
push right up,
or push right up. You know, defensively, fine, no issues with it.
No, fine is exactly the right word.
Like he's had his first 2 appearances were brilliant in and out of possession. Against Chelsea, he kind of just went on a bit of a wander, and we got exposed by their pace. And I fear the same will happen against Brentford, maybe even Liverpool if he plays, because both sides got very, very pacey attackers. But it's probably another one where once we get it right, it might make sense. But at the moment, it's like I'd rather him just stay there. Just stay there, mate.
Mate, quite. And I think that's the problem, isn't it? When you've got, if the system is like, which I get, right? So, like, you know, you see Trent do it, Kyle Walker does it, that Mazraoui does it a bit for Man United as well, tries, of like drifting inwards, and becoming like another centre midfielder, which enables, like when teams have possession, which enables, you know, that midfielder then to like push forward and pins other teams back, blah, blah, blah. That's all very well and good, but you've got to have, like, that is no good when Alvarez is your covering man, is it? Like, you need someone,
or Mavropanos coming up.
Well, no, but he's a centre half, but as in, like, when the ball's going out wide and it's Alvarez there, he's going to get done all the time by like tasty wingers. I really, I don't know. I don't know. I think that's the problem. I just don't know what's going on or what he's trying. Nicholas Jackson's second goal, mate, was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. The ball comes in the middle. Chelsea played 3 like straightforward 5-yard passes, like playing around West Ham midfielders who were just haplessly chasing like shadows, basically. it literally looked like a load of like grown men like teasing their 5-year-olds who were trying to get the ball off them. And then they play yet another straight ball down that corridor between the centre back and our fullback. And there's an enormous corridor of space. Again, the amount of times, my lasting image of this season so far, James, is our defenders, particularly Max Kilman. I don't necessarily think he's to blame for most of it, but is of our defenders sprinting back towards our goal line the whole time, with an opposing player having the run on them in possession. Just woeful. Really was woeful. I don't know what to say, really. Just rubbish.
What do I? It's just, not good. I just want to...
Knife through butter, it appears.
But that's
West Ham being the butter.
It's the byproduct of that midfield. I'm sure of it. Having that midfield the way it was just allowed for Chelsea to play through so easily. Just straightforward passes through the midfield, take that midfield out of the game. And then when you've got the likes of Nicholas Jackson or Madueke or Sancho running at Mavropanos and Kilman, really there's only one winner.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Especially when Wan-Bissaka's like up by Chelsea's corner flag or whatever.
Yeah.
But what spot on really. What's the answer? Because like for me, it's I know what you mean about Soler. I wouldn't mind seeing him for like as in a couple more appearances off the bench. Maybe you play him against Liverpool. Who knows? But I really, ideally, I think for the Premier League now, just for that issue alone, right, of covering a bit of ground and getting stuck in, I want to see Souček back in there. Like having alongside Alvarez the deeper line one. But then Souček, typically, he was like usually one of the top 3 runners in the Premier League last season, wasn't he? Let alone just at West Ham, like smashing out like 15k a game or whatever. I just get him back in there. I know he's not great on the ball, he really isn't. But
you say that though, mate. But when he came on against Chelsea, he was like a man possessed. I thought he had a really good game. He had a really good game. I mean, okay, we conceded that one right at the beginning of the first half while he was on the pitch, but we didn't concede again with him on it. And they had only really one stonewall opportunity towards the end, where it just went wide. But beyond that, in the second half, Chelsea barely threatened us in the same way they did in the first half.
Yeah,
so maybe that is answer. This is the answer for
short term, mate. Short term, because Rodriguez is not there, is he?
No, I think he's the one that loses out. We won't see him.
Yeah,
for a while, I don't think.
No,
from the start.
But what I'm saying is right. I think with Soler, it's like look, I still have like plenty of faith in him. Like what he's done so far has been all right. Like he's looked okay. But like, why at this point of the season, the points are just as valuable as they are later in the season. Like, why risk it? Just Souček knows what he's doing. He might not be the answer, and Lopetegui, he might not be the long-term option for Lopetegui, but fine. But let him, like, he knows the league, he knows the team, he knows what's required to be in a winning Premier League midfield. Like, just leave him in there for a bit and let him put in a 7 out of 10. Trying his little socks off like he always does. But at least he'll be putting some tackles in and making it a bit more difficult for teams in the short term while Soler gets up to, and then maybe, you keep introducing Soler like slowly. Like he's obviously tried to change a lot and it's one of those, right? If it works, everyone's like, oh, it's amazing, it's genius, but it's like, it's not. So it's almost like, well, let's just like put the brakes on a little bit, not try and assume everything's broken and that everything needs fixing. So let's just for a minute play our right back at right back. And let's perhaps play our proven centre midfield player who was our centre midfielder during 3 of our best Premier League finishes for the last 30 years and got us to a, late into European competition 3 times in a row. Like, let's stick with that bloke for a bit because it's not like, it's not like you're putting Marco Bugas in. Right. Who else? Any positive? Let's do a positive, James. Crosset, it will turn into a negative because God knows why he was taken off so early. Cryasensio Somerville is doing his level best week in, week out to persuade me that he's not just the second coming of Said Benrahma. And what I saw at the weekend really made me feel good about him and him as a signing.
Yeah, him and Kudos either side of the striker suddenly looks very tasty, doesn't it? With that pace.
If the striker's good, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought he was brilliant. I was just as baffled as you in terms of when he got taken off. I was like, hang on, he's our best player.
Yeah, everyone booed, didn't they?
He's the only one that was running at defenders and trying to get into their box and causing them a little bit of trouble in the final third.
Yeah.
And I think he's only going to get better as well. He's still very young.
Quite, yeah.
Keep playing from the start. He's got to be in that starting lineup. And just watch him improve, watch him develop into the player that he's already shown he can be. Yeah, very, very impressed. Very, very, and so far a bit of a snippet. What, 25 million quid?
Yeah, absolutely. Lucas Paqueta, talk to me, James. Really, couple of really weird things that he did on the weekend. Right, he still does some good stuff, and he's obviously such a good, talented football player. But even when he does some minging things, it's like sandwiched in between some amazing stuff. The case in point was, I think it was in the second half. Would that have been the second half? Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, second half. And he's sort of making a run down the left, and he took it past 4 people without even looking like he was trying. Couple of little drag overs with the studs, little bit of a shimmy, took it around 4 people, and you're like, brilliant, world class, mate. Just lay it across the box then for someone who's open. And he tried to do another one, and then we lose it, and the whole ground's on his back again. And it's like, in one fell swoop, you've done some world-class stuff and then just been rubbish when an easy option was on. A few times, on the weekend, sometimes I think he's trying stuff and I go, yeah, it's because he's better than everyone else. He's playing a different game. He's one step ahead and people aren't reading what he's thinking. But a few at the weekend, just long balls to absolutely no one. I don't know. It just looks like for the first time, maybe because Lopetegui sort of had a go at him, as much as managers have a go at players now after last week. I don't know, perhaps his confidence is shot a little bit, and we're seeing he's a bit human because he's just not himself, is he?
Yeah, to an extent. I think he's always been a player that fades in and out of games quite often. But he's also, because of because of his talent and the type of player that he is, in terms of, he's always trying to create something. He's always very flair. He's a bit of a flair boy. Those sort of players often have very frustrating traits in them as well, because sometimes you just want them to play the simple pass or the simple ball, or not try and beat the fifth man after you've already got 4 players in their backsides behind you. No need to do another one.
But where's the line, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
And sometimes you go, okay, but then you're right. He'll be incredibly frustrating 1 minute, and he'll do something ridiculous the next, and it'd be like, does it even itself out? My biggest issue is that he fades in and out of games too often for my liking. He'll have a good 15-minute spell, and you won't see him again for half an hour, and he'll pop up again with a great through ball or something like that. But at the same time, he's a player that you can't really not afford to have in your team.
He's a luxury,
because he is a luxury, world-class player, and I think we're going to have to enjoy him for as much as we can for this season.
Yeah,
because he won't be in next
season. We did have a little good spell, didn't we, at the end of when we were 2-0 down, and then it was all like, I'll get a goal here and we're back in it, different game. Didn't do that, and then obviously you think start the second half well, and then Palmer knocks the wind out the sails early doors. Just quickly, James, we will have in a minute some audio from an interview I did earlier for work, actually, but we've got permission to use the audio. But the penalty, right, that should have been Crescencio Somerville, again, playing really well, plays a nice little 1-2 with Paqueta, goes through on goal. Wesley Fofana yanks his wrist back like he's playing tug of war. The ref, Sam Barrett, the on-field ref, not having it. And the VAR looks at it, and just to rub salt in the wounds of all the fans in the stadium who are like, what the hell's gone on there? Put up a tweet on the big screen in the stadium saying, VAR checked the potential penalty foul by Wesley Fofana and decided to stick with the on-field decision because the pull wasn't a sustained pull. I mean, first of all, James, let's listen to ex-Premier League referee Mark Halsey, who I spoke to for the Sun Football today. Let's listen to what he had to say. Last one, Mark, this was my game at the weekend, London Stadium. West Ham absolutely abysmal against Chelsea, but one little period in the game where it looked like they might be giving themselves a fighting chance. Crescencio Somerville was the definitely the best of a bad bunch for West Ham. He goes through on goal. The referee Sam Barrett and Stuart Atwell was the VAR in this game, but Somerville goes through on goal. Little 1-2 with Lucas Paqueta. Wesley Fofana clearly grabbing his arm and his wrist as he runs into the box. Somerville does go down easy or sort of like exaggerates the contact, but then in this day and age, players feel like they have to do that, so the referees spot the offence. No penalty awarded. VAR checked and stayed with the on-field decision, and this Premier League Match Centre tweet came up in the stadium because the pull wasn't for a sustained period. I don't know what the hell's that's about, because he was grabbing onto him for at least 3 seconds. What do you think?
I mean, at that stage of the game, West Ham being 2-0 down, it's a massive, massive decision, because that penalty is given, then that could put West Ham back in the game and a totally different complex on the game. Now, you know, Sam's a good young referee. He's learning his trade, and he was in a great position. And I mean, I was listening to the commentary, and Stuart Atwell come across and said it was fleeting. Fleeting? I know the laws of the game, and I went through the laws of the game, so I couldn't see the word fleeting in the laws of the game, and I couldn't see the word of sustained holding in the laws of the game. You know, holding is punishable by a free kick. If it's in the penalty area, it's punishable by a penalty kick. Now, when I watched that incident, I thought to myself straight, that's a penalty. That's a penalty. So, some of these match day tweets that come out from the match centre are just absolutely nonsense. Like they all mic'd up. We saw the other evening. It's just nonsense. It's all stage managed. And I just, for me, I don't understand. For me, that was a clear and obvious error. And I don't understand why Stuart Atwell didn't come in and recommend a review. But other than that, I don't understand how Sam didn't see it in real time, because he had a great view. Right,
James, you can catch the full video for that on Sunsport's YouTube if you want. Mark's really good on lots of other stuff. But just what did you make of that Somerville decision? Mark, obviously, they're just thinking the same thing that most of us in the ground were. How the hell's it not pen?
It happened right in front of us. It happened in the corner that I'm in. And immediately, like, well, okay, the referee may not have had a good vision, but it'll go to VAR and they'll give it, like, he's going to be asked to go and look at the screen. And obviously that doesn't happen, and the game keeps going on. And then everyone's getting, people like their mates are sitting there watching at home, texting and going, Stonewall penalty, Stonewall penalty. Yeah, and they put that thing up on the big screen. And part of me wants to be really angry about it and be like, well, you know, if we get that penalty and we score, then we're back in it, and maybe, you know, maybe
never know though, do you?
But the other half me like, I'm just not surprised anymore, mate. I'm not surprised. There are at least once a weekend a Premier League game has something like that happens. Either something isn't given that should have been and is proved afterwards that it should have been, or something is given when it shouldn't have been and is proved after that it shouldn't have been. And the fact we're here when you've got a bloke in the middle of the pitch being helped by 4 geezers in a room watching untold amounts of replays in a room somewhere else in the country, and they're still getting decisions like that wrong. Like, unfortunately, we're not going to get to a point where no mistakes are made.
No,
but this is the point. No silly mistakes are made by referees.
But that's what that's what people are after. And at 50-50s, I think people are just like, well, all right, whatever. But that's not really subjective. No football fans looking at that and going, no pen.
This is what I mean. But we're not going to get to a stage where these decisions are going to be 100% correct every single time. No,
but just get the obvious ones right, innit?
But that's what I mean. It's never going to get to that point where the obvious ones are right, because if it was that easy for these people to get the obvious ones right, they would be doing it already.
Yeah.
Like let's have it right. The people that are employed to get the obvious decisions right.
Yeah.
After how long have we had VAR? 5 years. They're
Oh,
still
yeah,
not getting it
more
right.
than that, I think.
And
Yeah.
you have to get to a point where you're like, well, you know, it's a lost cause. They'll keep it in because they don't want to look silly by getting rid of it. But unless you start actually getting people in that are able to see properly and actually see what's happening and make decisions that are the right ones, then it's never going to change, and we're going to be talking about it every single week in what is supposed to be the best league in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, mate, absolutely. Right, that's about it from me and James Jones. You will hear Jonesy's excellent opposition view with Henry Jackson from This Is Anfield next. Jonesy, I think we'll just leave people with that, I think, rather than do any final thoughts. So what I want to hear from you now, and make sure it doesn't contradict the interview you've already recorded with Henry. What's your score against Liverpool on Wednesday? What's your score against Brentford at the weekend? And don't forget, those listening at home, that we will have another podcast, which I'll be doing, an opposition view with Mike from the Ealing Road podcast. Look ahead to the Brentford game later this week. Go on, Jonesy, what are you thinking?
Well, I won't ruin it for those that are about to listen to the interview with Henry, because I put out some absolutely woeful facts about our record at Anfield.
Yeah,
honestly, it's worse than one win in 65 years or whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's worse than that. So yeah, brace yourself. But as a result, I'm going Liverpool 4, West Ham 0.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm laughing. Yeah, that seems more than appropriate. Yeah, I could proper do that Wednesday. I bet the team can as well. I just think, yeah, the whole thing's a joke and a farce. We've already discussed the state of the Carabao Cup and the seeding and all that. Yeah, having to go to Anfield to get slapped. But major respect to the 5,500 West Ham fans who are going up there. Done plenty of trips like that in my time, but this one is it's as bleak can get, I think. Liverpool in the form we're in and with our record at Anfield. Alex Smith, who's the newest member of the We Are West Ham team, doing a lot of all the backroom heavy lifting so far this season. He's traipsing up there. So yeah, respect to Alex as well. Look, thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to follow us on socials, please, at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter, We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram, and We Are West Ham Pod at gmail.com. On the emails. If you want, you can buy us a pint at buymeacoffee.com/We Are West Ham, and do subscribe, please, to our YouTube channel, We Are West Ham Podcast on YouTube. Just search for that. Stay with us though, keep listening, don't turn off the podcast just yet. That's all from me and Jonesy for this week, but we'll just leave you with James Jones's opposition view with Henry Jackson from This Is Anfield ahead of that game Wednesday night in the Carabao Cup against Liverpool. And don't forget to stay tuned for my opposition view with Mike from the Ealing Road podcast later this week ahead of the Brentford game. Thanks for listening, everyone. Up the Hammers, West Ham and Mass.